Watch Who?
Hello.
And welcome to Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm a Doctor Who fan.
And I'm new to watching Who.
Watching for the very first time.
Very first time. That wasn't very good at all. Sorry.
Oh, do you want to do it? What? No.
Do you know what? Just before I did it, I was thinking, oh yeah, I have to sing it this out. I don't think my voice has gone anywhere today. We're recording on a Sunday. I've had a lazy day. What were you about to ask me, Mark?
Well, I was just about to ask you how many Nimon have you seen today, but...
No, I haven't been out. No. I have been out, but no, I didn't see any. I saw a lot of hungover people today, but it's after the Wales-England rugby match, so there's a lot of hungover people on the streets, but no, I'm sorry. How many have you seen?
I've seen 3. Have we got any updates before we get into
We both watched a film this week, like not together, but I saw it, told Mark, and Mark was like, I don't want to watch it. And I was like, so you should. So we watched Marcel Vachel with shoes on, which is a bit hard to say. Marcel Vachel with shoes on.
Yeah, it's like an animated film. Well, sort of animated.
It's stop motion.
Well, not like stop motion. Yeah, it was really, really good.
It's really hard to explain. He's a shell called Marcel, and he has shoes on and one eye, and he's trying to find his family. That's it in a nutshell. It doesn't make more sense. It's just lovely.
Tell me about what's life like.
It's pretty much common knowledge that it takes at least 20 shells to have a community. My cousin fell asleep in a pocket, and that's why I don't like the saying everything comes out of the wash, because sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, maybe if people Google the trailer.
Well, that's
YouTube,
what you did after I was like, I'm going to see Marcel Vachel with shoes on. And that's what you did.
Yeah, I really recommend it. I think it had a limited release. I'm sure one day it'll be out there on streaming.
Yeah,
get a live release or something.
Definitely.
Neighbours has started streaming. The old episodes have come up on Amazon. So they've gone big on that. So all of 2012 has gone up. And I never watched any 2012, so I've just started watching that. And after like one episode, I'm like already into the storylines and stuff. So I've got a whole year's worth of Neighbours to start watching now on Amazon before it actually starts up again.
Because you started rewatching it about 2017?
I want to say 16 or 17.
I think it was 17.
Yeah.
I don't think it was 16. It wasn't Brexit year.
Why do you remember
2016 is when Brexit happened. And I just remember that it wasn't the same year of all that chaos. I feel like...
Hang on, how are you linking the chaos of Brexit to me starting to watch Neighbours?
Not Neighbours, no. I'm sure it was 2017. And it's like a crossover of when I was leaving and when you were watching it. So I think it was 2017.
Yeah, maybe. I think it might have been.
Because I didn't leave in 2016. I was still working. We were still working together then.
Yeah.
So I think because obviously the D storyline went on for, it was supposed to be like 6 weeks and it went on for like 2 years. So I remember getting the mugs and the t-shirts and stuff. And then I left towards the end of the year or midway through that year, but you'd started rewatching at the start of the year. So I think it was 2017.
Well, while we're talking about this, I'll just give you an update on Neighbours Guy, because everybody asks about Neighbours Guy. I swear this is what everyone who listens always asks me about Neighbours Guy.
Hey, Mark, it's good to have a side story. I would not be putting up with this shit. So, if anything, I hope this is a lesson to you. Or maybe it's a lesson to anyone listening in being calmer and nicer person than me. Because how long have you had Neighbours Guy talking to you now? 2 years?
It's coming up to 2 years.
2 years of this guy. I could not, I'd have flown to Australia to have words, I think, at this point. So
he's always messaging me. There's always like an unread. It comes up unread, but I don't open the messages ever and read them. Okay. So it's always just there. And sometimes they get deleted before I read them and come back again. Anyway, here I'm going to read them live right now. So the last one, it's got a week ago and it says 5 new messages. So I have no idea what they say. So let's have a look, everyone.
He'll know you've read it now.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got, Please let me know what's going on. Are you helping me or what? That's fine. Ignore me. We're done. And then he sent me a clip of.
Fine, ignore me. We're done.
And then he sent me a clip saying these are from BBC One Scotland, with complete credits and hi-fi. And then he said, "Fine, I bid you farewell. I tried being nice." And then he's put, and then he's put, "If you still want to trade, let me know." After that, anyway, he said that before. He said that about a year ago. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. What made me think of him was they're all streaming now. He's not whoever he's been harassing for 2012 episodes, which I don't have. It's now all on streaming for him.
He wants the adverts.
He's going to be happy. Not necessarily.
I thought he wanted like all the adverts and things at that time. Or have I just imagined that?
He had some of them, but and I had some of them, but I don't know. It depends what his collection's like. If they're all going to end up on there, then if it makes him happy, that's great.
You just need to reply with, if he just say like the 2012 episodes are now on streaming service. I hope this pleases you. As if you've made it happen or something.
yeah, I'm sure they are fun. I know you kept asking me, so I made sure.
I couldn't fulfill it. So what I did was I got in touch with Amazon through customer services because they've got a great customer service. I was like, "Hey, can you put 2012 on?" He was like,
He could be like, "These aren't good quality. I want them on DVD. When are you coming out?" And he could be messaging Amazon for all we know, asking for all this stuff.
He could have been doing that with the customer services at Amazon. They are good customer service.
But yeah, that's what we've been watching. Let's get on to today's story, The Horns of Nimon. So how did you watch this?
So I did 1 in one sitting, and then 2, 3, and 4 in the second sitting.
Oh, okay. That's a different set. I don't know if that means you found that a struggle to begin with.
I struggled to begin with, and my plan was actually I was going to do 2 and 3, or 2 and then 3 and 4 on the Sunday, and I ended up doing 2, 3, and 4. But 1 I really struggled with. I got to the end of it, I was like, "Oh, no, I can't. That's it tonight." Like, I'm done.
I feel like I'm saying this a lot, really, but this is one, that I've never really liked too much.
Oh, I did enjoy it. By the end, I really enjoyed it. But that first episode was a struggle. And I don't know why. Again, it could have just been when I chose to watch it, whatever. But I don't think it was because... So I did that Friday night, and I literally was just sat here, I had a takeaway, and I was like, "Okay, let's do this." And I did one, I was like, "Oh, no, I have to stop. I cannot do another one tonight." And then when I went to watch the second one, I thought, right, okay, let's just do it. We're going to have to do it at some point. Let's just do it. And I ended up watching it all.
Okay, well, yeah, it's got a bit of a reputation of being a bit over the top, not the best Tom Baker story, a bit cheap looking. I know I always say it's cheap looking. It will get better, everyone. When we head into the 80s, it will get better, I'm sure. Yeah, the acting, what's his name, Soul Deed, it's sort of known for his overacting and his over-the-topness. The Nimon aren't the best monsters. So in terms of reputation, I think people do like it, but because it's so sort of bad.
Who I loved, and this will surprise you, is... I don't know his name, but you know the guy that they're like, "You're going to save us," and he's like,
Seth. Yeah, Seth.
Seth. I love Seth. I was like, poor Seth. And I love the joke about what's her name's going to give us a hero of the rest of his life. Poor Seth. I loved Seth, and I loved having that sort of character that was the reluctant hero, the one that's just sort of stumbled into it, and everyone thinks it, and it's like, yeah, okay, don't let you down.
Well, this is another one that's got a bit sort of a link to, it's supposed to be a bit like the Minotaur and the Labyrinth and stuff as well. And it came out in a DVD box set. There was 3. It was called Myths and Legends, and it's notorious because it was terrible. It was this one, the green screen one, and
right.
the one where the master was in Atlantis with the girl with the tits.
One.
You know the master sort of was flirting with that woman in Atlantis, and it had top.
Oh yes, yes.
which they've all got really, and they were all sort of lumped together in one DVD box set. It was like the 3 worst stories. They had to lump them together in a box set. I don't think they would have sold on their own at all.
I think it's because the initial elements of setting up the story, I was a bit like, I was confused who everyone was, which is pretty standard, but there was a lot of people at once and like a lot of, there's a doctor and K9 and then Ramona's gone, and there was a lot. Ramona, why do I call her Ramona? I think there was just like a lot of things happening now. It's just like I don't. And then right at the end, you see the Nimon. I was gonna say troubadour. It's not a troubadour at all. The Nimon, and I think I just got to him. I was like, oh, okay. But as it went through, there was other elements of the story that I think kept me going to the point where I was like, all right, now I'm ready to see. And they had some good cliffhangers.
Oh, well, I was going to say these are the worst cliffhangers. These are the worst.
I thought actually the sense of threat of the cliffhanger felt good.
No, not at all. Okay, right. Well, let's just start then because I've made notes. So I put, it's a really bad opening scene. And okay, the spaceship is supposed to be falling apart and stuff, but it's the worst set. It's on this weird level. They're weird office chairs covered in foil, just a load of whatever we can find. And you've got these 2 guys just chatting about, with weird helmets on, giving us all of this info dump straight away. It's not interesting to look at.
Yeah.
They're a bit boring. But we find out they've got this shipment, and the shipment, then they walk through and it's these... I'm going to call them, what should we call them? The kids. We'll call them the kids.
Which kids, yeah. And they've got the kids.
They're trying to explain the plot and everything. Oh, we've got this shipment, blah, blah. But just the way that the dialogue is done.
It's really, I think this is what I struggled with. I was like...
And when he walks through and he goes like, weakling scum, and then walks back again. It's like, there's no point in that. It was just to show us that what the cargo is. But you didn't have to do it in that way. And this is what is embarrassing. If you were going to like show someone Doctor Who, you would not show them like this first episode. This is what in the 90s would embarrass me about Doctor Who. It's just not... There's some great ideas in this whole story, but just the way it's done is just not in a very good... I don't know, it's just... This is on Saturday night on TV. It's just like, oh, it's a bit cringy. And then you go to the Doctor... in the TARDIS. I feel like, I don't know if it's Tom Baker getting bored or they've run out of things to do. He's always fixing the TARDIS, we know that. But then that whole scene just went on and on with, you got K9 and his head goes upside down and there's explosions, and it was just like, let's put Tom Baker on the TARDIS and improv for 5 minutes. It just went on and on and on with these silly jokes. And then Romana...
Yeah, I agree.
Romana's actually playing it. She's the only one that's actually playing it for serious, for real. And I feel like it's Tom Baker's just being silly with tricks. And it went on and on and on. And it wasn't even filmed very well.
I agree, yeah.
I mean, with the sparks going off on the TARDIS, he puts his scarf over the top of it. I feel like that wasn't supposed to happen. Like... It just was not interesting.
There was one bit, I'm really jumping ahead here, but when he finally gets the TARDIS to go back on again, and it doesn't happen straight away.
And all the silly noises and stuff when he go with the springs.
He looks like confused, and then it starts moving and I was like, I wonder, why didn't they just reshoot that? It's really obvious that someone was supposed to move something and didn't.
Yeah, it just feels... Maybe it's the direction. I should have looked up who directed this. So I might do that in a second, because I feel like it's directed very badly, because everyone's just sort of on a different level. All the different actors are doing something a bit different, I feel.
Do you know what? I could be really wrong in this, because I really don't know. But I think you might get a bit of hate for this. I think there'll be a lot of people out there that like this.
I'm sure there are. And I said to myself I should be more positive, but I just haven't been. It just came out. Sorry. I'll carry on.
But I do agree. I think the first episode is really poor. It was really draggy and just... And like unnecessary. There was a lot of, like you say, just that scene with the TARDIS and stuff. It just didn't go anywhere. just nothing happened. This is just padding on just being silly for the sake of being silly.
Although positives, clothes watch, Romana's outfit, her sort of.
Oh, I was going to ask this. Yeah, go on.
It's sort of like fox hunting, but I suppose she's in red for the bullfight type thing as well.
She's in red and white, isn't she? It's like
fox hunting thing. Yeah, with the.
I didn't like it.
I thought that was my favourite. I thought it was good. She's very doctorish in it.
I think it's that, though. I think, I don't like how doctorish she looked.
This story, I mean, I do like Romana too. You haven't been so positive on her, and I've always liked her, but watching her in order that we have, this is the difference watching it in order. She's been fairly weak so far. She had a few moments, but I felt this was the first story in order where she really comes into her own, and she has some really strong moments. There's a couple of moments where when she shouts at Soldeed, she has two sort of head-to-heads with him. She goes off on her own a lot. She's got her own sonic screwdriver. She goes a bit later on, she has her own, and she's with the kids a lot, sort of helping them. And it's almost like Romana's the doctor who got Seth and Tika, her companions, for a lot of the time. I just felt she really just came into her own in this for the first time. She's really got it.
I agree. I felt this was her strongest story so far. And there was some really strong moments from her with the dialogue of that.
I felt she had the best part in this, and I was more interested in the scenes with her in. When it was just the doctor, because he's either talking to K9 or he's talking to himself, talking about being, again, a little bit too silly sometimes and jokey.
He wasn't doing a lot. Like, obviously, he's there to move. He moves it along, and when he's fixing things, that's what he does. But he wasn't actively involved, and all the scenes he goes into were very flippant, as if there's no sense of danger or trepidation. It's like, well, and that is what he does, but I think this is the first time that I really felt it's too much. And where I really felt it, because sometimes I think it works well, that sort of offhand, okay, we're in a situation. And last week I thought it worked well, because he came in and he sort of lied, oh, well, we're this. But this week, he's just like, well, I'm the doctor. And they're like, what? He's like, yeah. And it's like, it was too flippant and I just didn't like it.
Yeah, because I complained about it a couple of times this season already, and you've been fine with it. But it hasn't been as much.
But, I mean, as in as the doctor, there's a lot of liberty taken as to, he's been in this role a long time right now. What's it been, 4? 6. It's a long time in a role. This is the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for you to go now.
Because the bit with K9, where I don't know what happens, K9's head goes on upside down, he starts blowing through, giving him mouth to mouth sort of thing.
Yeah,
and then that cliffhanger, this is where I didn't like. It was a weird cliffhanger into part 1. They're in the TARDIS.
Oh, the part 1 was awful. I agree with that. 2 and 3 had good cliffhangers, but part 1 was awful.
There was no music. It was just the doctor going, oh no, with K9. And the cliffhanger music just came in. And it was like they were just in the middle of a scene. I don't know what happened. It just was a really awkward cliffhanger.
Estimated mass equivalent to 220 million tons.
220 million tons? That's not an asteroid, that's a planet.
Diameter 96.4 kilometers, approaching at a speed of Mach 9.3.
9.3? It's coming right for us.
And then he gets the Rosetta thing and puts it on K9. But it's a bit too silly, because that takes all the... if he's doing stuff like that, then you feel like, well, actually, it's not a life-threatening situation, because he's been silly putting badges on K9 and stuff.
And also, it's so early on for them to be in that sense of danger. We know that there's no sense of danger, really, for them, because it's the first one. There's a whole story to go. You can have a sense of danger that opens up possibilities. So you could have that early on and be like, it opens up to what's going to happen next. This just felt like we're putting them, this is where we're going to end it, because it feels like a logical place. We've reached the mark. We'll pad this out a bit and make it work. But I agree. And actually, I'll be completely honest, I completely missed that the TARDIS wasn't moving, because there was that much faffing about going on early on. I wasn't really following it properly, so I kind of switched off a little bit to it. So when he's like, we can't move and everything's not working, I was like, oh. I felt it a little bit at the end of the last one, But this one, I really felt there's a lot of advantage taken and a lot of liberties being taken. Because actually, when I think of him as a Doctor, and you think how he's played it for all these years, this isn't how it's been. And I don't know whether that's just him getting bored and therefore this is coming through, which is why I was quite happy that he wasn't in a lot. And I felt confident that there was enough other elements of the story to move the story along.
Well, okay, let's go to Skonos then when we go to this planet. Okay, you've had all of that, and now you have the operatic feather hat people.
Now, I love the gods' feather outfits. I loved them. I don't know why, they reminded me of crows, and I loved it.
No, I didn't like it.
I was like, I couldn't believe when we went to the other planet that they had the exact same outfits.
Yeah,
Like, you're a completely different planet. Do you not have your own style? They were completely impractical, but I loved them. And I will not have a bad word said about them, Mark. They were so ridiculous. And I loved it. And like, it's like I killed my enemy and now it's my thorn on my head or whatever.
Oh, no, it just does it. It's impractical and it just makes them look a bit silly.
Those puffy sleeves was so impractical.
And Sol Deed's in the big collar and everything with his staff. And
he felt like a wizard.
Yeah, he does look a bit like a wizard. Yeah, but then they've made this really cheap set, and it's all the metal, and you can hear all the clanking on the metal throughout this whole story. Wherever they are, it's clanking metal really bad. And the only bit I liked about the set was later on when it all starts lighting up and it's got like the sort of triangles that light up. It looks a bit like a really cheap X Factor stage sort of thing that you get on one of those shows. That's what it looked like. But it's not a very interesting planet. It's a planet of like old guys that have passed their best, that are like trying to gain power basically, and the Nimon has come in. They think there's only one. So they're giving... This is what I was trying to get my head around. Okay, so we've got the sacrifices, which is the crystal things that the kids are holding. But then they also have to take the kids. So they want the crystals and the kids, and they've been doing this for however long. And I'm sure... I should have done my research, but I'm sure there's a Greek myth based on that of something around that.
I mean, sacrificing isn't the first time we've had this on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So they love a sacrifice.
Oh, and I have to say, okay, when we're talking about the kids as well... Okay, Seth and Tika are great. They're the only ones paid to be talking, but those background ones are awful. Oh my god, did you see any of them? They are terrible at just standing there in the background for whatever's going on. Their reactions are not great. They are awful. They are absolutely terrible.
Because they didn't do anything, I didn't really think about them too much. They were just sort of told where to be.
They were just sort of standing there in the background like... But Seth and Tika, maybe a new couple of the season.
Oh, yeah, I loved them. I loved Seth so much.
I feel like they are following in the footsteps of the great Altos and Sabitha in a way, I think.
I think it had just been like regular teenagers, and somehow it was the twist on his character being the reluctant hero. Not the reluctant hero, sorry.
Well, he said he was a prince, didn't he? And he wasn't. And then they're like... And all she says is, she got on my nerves a little bit. All she said was, what's happening? What are you going to do? What's that? Why is that? Every single thing, I think, was a question, apart from when she's saying to Seth, you're going to save us, aren't you? And he's just like... You're
going to save us, aren't you?
And that's it. And all he said...
I don't know why. I just loved it. I love the chat when he's like, I just said I was, and they think I'm going to save them all. And it's just, and it's not like he's not trying.
But he does try, but all he says to her is, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
Well, of course he doesn't know what's happening. He has no idea. He's been taken from the planet as much as anyone else. Because I kept thinking, will he step up? Will he not? Is that how they'll play it? He just never because it's not like he doesn't step up. He is trying, but he's not it's not like okay, let's go back to previous Ramona's face and her lover.
Oh, you're talking about Merak and Astra.
He was just a medic, but he loved her so much that he was willing to sacrifice and do all this stuff. This guy's not that. This guy's And I loved it.
Oh yeah, I am glad they're there. It did add to the story if they weren't there.
It provided a light relief, but not in like a... Going back to that story, what was his name?
Marak.
The cop.
Oh, Drax.
No, the
Drax.
cop thing. Yeah, not like in a Drax way, in a completely different way. It provided a little bit of light relief. It's the first time I can think of that we've had anything like that. He was a regular person who probably fancies a girl, and she's gone, well, who are you? And he's sort of lied because he sort of stumbled in there. And she's gone, oh, well, you'll save us, won't you? He's like, yeah. He's hoping to get one in later. Like, he's just a teenage boy that stumbled into some trouble. I loved it so much.
I didn't like, in part one, the bit where it all goes slow motion because the gravity's getting heavy or something, and it all goes weird.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of part one I didn't enjoy.
And that
really
co-pilot is really annoying. The co-pilot guy. Romana has a go at him. He's the one that says
Yes, yeah.
And he gets killed, going ahead, he gets killed at the end of part 2.
You shall die. Mercy, Lord Nimon! I brought you the tribute!
And he's very well known for, I don't know if you noticed, when he gets shot by the Nimon, his trousers are split open. His trousers split. So
no.
Everyone's like, God. He's the trouser split guy. But then
I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
This is new. I think they split before he filmed that because, I mean, I was sort of looking at him, and you can see that they're split in a couple of scenes before that. So I think they finally do completely rip open when he falls on the floor and gets shot. There's a massive tear right up in his trousers.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to look. I'll have to go back and look now. I'll put myself through that torture again.
Yeah, that's a bit of an undignified ending. What do you think of the Nimon then when they do turn up? Because there's all this talk of them, and they're this... It's a strange design.
I'll tell you what it reminded me of. The one with Bokken. The demon one was much more impressive.
Well, the demon, he sort of had tights on, didn't he? These are like a leotard with a helmet.
Well, the demon was like a whole beast of a man. Do you know what I mean? He had the legs.
They've got they hold themselves quite stiff. It doesn't really help that they're sort of walking around a bit.
Well, probably because they're trying to balance that head. They're probably literally saying stiff because they're trying to balance. It's probably not like one complete thing. It's probably been put on their head and they're trying to balance it so it doesn't fall off.
They've got their sort of pharaoh type eleganza skirt thing on.
Yeah, I thought all that felt in keeping.
But because it was a mask and no eyes moved, no mouth moved, it was someone. It could have literally been someone in a helmet. They could have taken the helmet off and been like, "I'm the Nimon, really," or something. You don't really know. I just think. Like, they serve their purpose, but they're not the best monster ever.
They just didn't fit to what I expected them to be. I think they'd be a good monster somewhere else. I mean, someone will probably break it down why Nimon, and it's probably some sort of like mythical...
Well, it's supposed to be like the Minotaur in the maze, isn't it? So they've got the horn.
It is a Minotaur. It is a Minotaur. And I think you could have had what was the one? What was that story? And they were underground. It's the one with Fingy's son as the prince and the king.
Curse of Peladon.
Yeah. And didn't they have something like a Minotaur, but it wasn't a Minotaur
Agador,
that they were
he has one horn.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, Mark, it's a good job you know what I mean. That guy's son.
I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
But so that felt like in keeping with the story. And I think just seeing him on a spaceship like that, it just didn't feel in keeping in any way. It just felt a little bit, it could have been a really cool spacey design. And I just didn't feel it fit. You know, for them to believe to worship him, even within the design of everything, there should have been something that hinted to like believe in these sort of Greek
they're invaders, so they've come to this planet because they invade loads of different planets. So they've come to say, I don't know how that's set up, and I don't know how they were like, you need to sacrifice this many for us to come here. Yeah, it's a bit of like a con. They're sort of con artists in a way, being like, there's only one of me. You bring me sacrifices. I will then bring your planet back to whatever's happened on Skonos or whatever. Because is like so like he's so desperate for this to be leader of this planet. he is over the top, right?
You fools! You are all doomed!
Yeah.
Does he ruin the story?
No, but he is over the top. But I think it was a nice balance to some other people that weren't like the teenagers.
I think that's what it is. It's just this opposite. You've got those very
You've got a lot of opposite.
understated teenagers that are like, what's going on? Oh no. And then you've got him, like, his death, Solde's death, the whole...
Oh, it's so dramatic.
And then he's like, it goes on and on and on and on.
I prefer that to the other extreme.
This is like a panto. This is proper panto.
I'm fine with that. Because it helps me. I'm like, well, I know who this guy is.
All Soldeed needed was that puff of smoke every time he walked onto the set and walked through it, which he sort of does with that grey curtain thing.
You're a wizard, Soldeed.
That weird sort of like, it's green screen but grey curtain thing that he walks through. They go through it. And everyone, you just need all the kids booing and throwing sweets and stuff. I suppose it did bring a bit of life to it. But it's a bit like, isn't he the male version of what's her name we had in the pit? You know, Lady Astra. It's a bit like that. And actually, there was a lot of I found a lot of similarity. Because then when K9 comes into it, they pick up K9, try and take him apart.
It was very
when
similar.
they had him on the table, I was like, that's what they had in Creature from the Pit. K9 on the table. What is it? Oh, it's a dog. Oh, it's a computer. Use him as a weapon. I felt it was a little bit similar to all of that. So when I was watching, I was like, oh, this is not this is.
Speaking of K9,
I mean, he did help save it. He blasted a load of Nimon and stuff. He didn't do as much in this. He is kept out of it for a while.
no, he was. I felt like he wasn't as useless as he was in the other ones. The only bit of dialogue that I did like for his sass was when he has to get off a table and then just walked off. That was the only bit where I was like, I'm living for this sass, because this guy, like, what can he do? He obviously shoots and can hurt. He just lets him walk out. It all just felt really unnecessary. All it was delaying K9 getting to the doctor. That's the whole point of that thing, was to delay his eventual arrival.
Because he can just blast everyone. And I felt like that part 4 was a bit of a padding until you got right to the end. There was a bit of a runaround. Actually, what I did like, let's go to some positives. I did like the idea of that maze where they go in and it shifts around.
I love that, yeah.
And the kids are walking around trying to find their way out, and the doctor's sort of walking around. I did like the way that went on. I felt like that was interesting. That was a good, clever concept and cheap. And what you can do on a budget, because you just move the corridor 3 walls around and then film it again and walk up and down and film it again. That's what you can do on a budget. You can be clever on a budget.
Yeah, I liked that. I enjoyed like them working out why people were, what happened to sacrifices, and then later on we see the guy on the table.
The guy on the table's great, and that set's really good with the 2 levels. Do you remember the arc in space, where with Vira and Noah, Vira and Noah?
Yeah, I remember. Oh no, I've gone to the arc one.
Oh no, that was the Dodo one. The arc in space with Noah and Vira.
And the nose.
No, that's Wheel in Space. Very close. Ark in Space. It's the 4th Doctor, Harry and Sarah, and it's like the second 4th Doctor story where Harry and Sarah are on there, and you've got Noah and Vira are running, and there's a big Wirran bug things that are taking over, and it green bubble wrap.
Yes, the green. Yeah.
And you know when they're all in those suspended animation things with 2 levels, it's exactly like that. It's just a smaller version of that. That's a really good set. I
enjoyed how he literally stepped forward and then she gone, and them trying to find her, and she ends up in that room. You see him, you saw him like at the end of 1, beginning of 2, and then you don't see him again until it's about episode 3, and he's on a table and like preparing the body and stuff. I was like, I enjoyed that.
More Nimon land, and they're invading. And again, it's just this really... Oh, that was it, because that's the end of part 3, where Romana accidentally, she goes off, and then what's his name? Soldi comes in and blasts the thing.
I thought that was a really good one, because it's right in his face. I thought that was... Normally, there's space, but because he was so close, I kind of felt like there's nowhere for him to go. What's going to happen?
That cliffhanger would happen just before. So he comes in, blasts, it's a close-up of the Doctor's face, and he's looking like, oh, Romana... And then Soldi comes in with the thing. And I don't know, it's the direction of it, I think, because there's a really long pause between Soldi sort of saying anything and blasting. And it's a really awkward, like, it feels like, what camera are we going to? What is going to happen next? And then, again, there's no music to any of these cliffhangers. And I think that's what it is.
I did like the actual bit of cliffhanger, which is when, and now I will destroy you. And he's right there in his face. And I kind of felt he has nowhere to go. Like, it's just him. And normally they're far off or there'll be something, where you feel like he'll jump out or something will happen. And I thought, well, hang on, Romana's gone. Kids are out in the corridor. He is like trapped. So I thought that was a really good one. It was enough, put it this way, Mark, it was enough for me to carry on watching.
Well, there we go. It's a success then.
And that's the episode 2 one, isn't it? Oh, no, 3.
That was 3, yeah. Okay, and then I think it's Seth that comes in and blasts him or bounces the blast off or something.
No, the Nimon come in.
Oh, the Nimon. I think it's Seth comes in and... No, Seth shoots him. Seth's got the gun and shoots him.
Yeah, you're right. Seth shoots him. Yeah.
And this is where Seth and Tika, they are just completely useless. They're just asking questions for the rest of the story, unfortunately. But there's not much else for them to do, because then Romana goes off to this other planet, which looks like all the others.
But brilliant scene with her and that guy.
It's interesting that there's a new guy that's introduced in part 4. Okay, he gets shot pretty early on, but at least she's got someone to talk to with that new guy. And I thought, okay, at least we've got another character, so another element to this story. And
I think it helped cement, because at this point they're just coming over and you're like, why? And going to the other planet, and he looks exactly like the other guy in the same clothes and everything. And it kind of cements what's happening really quickly. I thought that scene was really good. I thought both the acting was really strong.
He was good, wasn't he?
He was really good, and so was Romana.
This is where it was like, she is the Doctor, she is doing her own thing. This is where I was really enjoying.
You sort of see the vulnerability of it, what he's done. He helped that, even her getting back on, and he gets shot. All of that, I thought it could have just been her, and she's like, "Well, I'm going to get back." But I think it really just helped shape a bit more of what could happen. Because then she could go back and go, no, this is what's happening. We know exactly because they've just done it. And I've just talked to a guy who's dead. Yeah, I thought all of that scene of her on the planet after she meets him was really good.
Once Saldine gets killed, then it sort of wraps up quite quickly. It all ends up in an explosion, basically. And then Nimon are banished back to this black hole. And that's the black hole that they encountered at the beginning, which they were being sucked towards or something like that.
Yeah. I was all a bit confused by that, but yeah. I got what happened.
But not before, when Saldine died, that's when Romana has a go at Saldine. That's really good. OTT death, I put. Then...
But again, I enjoyed what she said to him. I enjoyed her dialogue of well, how many have you seen?
Yeah. That is the most famous quote from the story. Loads of people say that. And he calls her a meddlesome hussy. That's funny as well. so there are some good lines in this. Some great... Again, it's the Douglas Adams... ish kind of lines in there, I feel, those moments. And then at the end we end up with a bit of a joke. I mean, I was going to say sexual chemistry watch again, but there's that sort of, what does the Doctor say to Romana at the end? Come on, old girl, you've still got lots of life in you.
I was going to ask, just going back a little bit, he goes on about keeping the ship white.
Yes, that is a Greek myth reference.
Right, I was so confused. I was like, what is this?
There's a story in the Greek myths where they put white sails on a ship or something.
Oh, because he said it was black and he told them to paint it white, not like last time. Or something like that. And I was like, what's he on about?
Yeah, it's a very...
And then it confused me. That was the only bit that I was a bit confused about, actually.
Oh, yeah. So apparently King Aegeus... Oh, God. Told Theseus that upon returning to Athens, he was to fly a white sail if he had triumphed over the Minotaur, and to instruct the crew to raise a black sail if he had been killed. Theseus, forgetting his father's direction, flew a black sail as he returned. Oh, and obviously something bad must have happened. It's a Minotaur thing, yeah. A bit like that, the green screen one with all the Greek myth sort of hints, but they turned it a bit spacey to that one, didn't they? And wasn't there something called, wasn't one of the Jason, wasn't it this Jasonite, that crystal that what's his name gave?
Yeah,
like Jason
yeah.
and the Argonauts, I imagine again. Yeah, sorry, going back, he says to Romana or something about the TARDIS, like, oh, there's still life in the old girl or something, and she's like, oh, thank you, thank you, Doctor, and then she does that look, and I was like, oh.
That was the only time though, and then he's like, no, I mean the TARDIS. But it just felt quite a cheap sort of joke, actually. It is.
I
don't know.
I need to look up because that.
Like, it felt like a really easy joke.
I need to do a bit more information about Tom Baker and Lala Ward to you, because there are times, or there is some coming up, where this is before they get married. They have massive They do not talk to each other. Well, like, he does not look at her in scenes. He refused to look at her.
Oh, really?
They like argue proper bad, and there's stories of like really bad, like literally opposites. So they come do the scenes on opposite sides on the set, and he
Why?
and there are scenes where you can see where he's not. It's like, is it a good day or a bad day? Is he looking at her or not in scenes?
Yeah, why?
Because I don't know. It's just their relationship, I suppose. Like, their marriage lasted 6 months.
Right.
And they never spoke again.
Oh, really?
Never seen each
Wow.
other. And there's loads of CD, like audios that they've done since, but they record separately and it's put together afterwards. So they've never been in the same room since. Ever.
What happened?
Like, they just...
What happened?
I don't know, but they would never... And when she does commentaries and stuff, I think it might be on this commentary. They're obviously not on the same commentaries or anything, but... Lala Ward, she's quite funny. She ended up marrying Richard Dawkins, the
Yeah,
evolution
I
guy.
did actually know that. Yeah.
And whenever she's asked at conventions or on interviews and stuff, what's your favourite monster? She always says Tom Baker.
I mean, no one's ever said like what happened, why it broke down so badly.
He wrote in his autobiography, I think, they were just like, it's not working, and then one day he was like, yeah, I don't think this is working. And she's like, no, I don't think so either. And then she packed her stuff and left, and that was it. They just never spoke or did anything, saw each other again. It just...
But that's such an extreme...
It was
never... Like, considering that they do work in the same circles, then to never even be on the same...
No, like
there's got to be more to it than that.
I don't know. Well, she got remarried, and he's been remarried and stuff, so I don't know.
That's what I mean. Like,
won't...
that's why you'd think, like, do you know what? If something just ended, you wouldn't have an issue being in the same room together.
I don't know. I think it might be him rather than her. I think she would be okay. I think she was like, when am I going to record with him? And I don't think, for whatever reason, he doesn't want anything to do with her. So it's quite a behind the scenes on this. Like,
that's just probably the most interesting part of this season. Then
I appreciate this more. Maybe I wouldn't say like I necessarily enjoyed it this time watching this one. I don't think I would go back to it very much, but I appreciate it, and I can see why people do enjoy the sort of theatricalness of it and the over-the-topness of it. I think that's what people like, and there is a good story there somewhere as well.
I'll only go back to watch that guy's plant split, and I'll probably go onto YouTube and find a clip.
End of part 2.
But it's not one that I'd be fussed about revisiting. I didn't think it was awful. I just felt like there was just lots of elements that all didn't click. But there were some really strong elements, like we've talked about the doors and like the walls moving and stuff like that. And there were some things that I did like, and I liked. There were some really good scenes. There was some strong acting. I said this. I think it's the strongest Ramona story so far. Ramona. I knew as it came out.
Oh, we're gonna get comments on that.
I don't know where that's gone. Like, I know it's Romana, and I keep saying Ramona.
Well, I hope people aren't too annoyed that I've been a bit harsh on this one. I promise, I just can't help it. I sat down to watch. I was like, right, I'm not going to be harsh, and there's just parts that are just. It's not the style of Doctor Who that I necessarily appreciate. Doctor Who comes in all different styles and productions and all different versions, and this sort of version is not my favourite version of it. I think that's what.
And that's fine. That's fine.
Well, in 1979, this would have been the last story of the season.
Oh, really?
But we do have another one to go.
Oh.
Because the next story, it's called Sharda.
Right.
They got halfway through making it and there was another strike. And the BBC were like, we have to reschedule stuff, and it just never happened, and it got cancelled, and they never finished making it. But so they did location filming, they did half the studio. The footage still exists.
So hang on, this episode that's next was supposed to be the end of season, but actually this ended up being the end of season.
Yeah.
Right.
But we are going to watch the last one, Sharda, for this season because it got completed. It came out on DVD a couple of years ago, so they've done it half animation, half using the real footage.
Oh,
okay. The actors back to voice the missing parts. So I think on BritBox, just to warn you, I've got the DVD. They put it in 6 episodes on the DVD. I think it's done as an all-in-one film, basically, on BritBox. So you might want to just do it in blocks. But it is a 6-episode story. I think it's like an hour and a half, just in one on BritBox. I think it is still on BritBox. But it just to let you know, so it cuts between real footage from the time and animation in the bits that they haven't done.
Cool.
So I think we should do it. It's a really good story. It's actually written by Douglas Adams as well. So they've tried various. We'll go into it next week. Actually, I'll do the whole history of it next week. But I just thought I'd warn you that that's what it was, in case you were like, "What the hell is this?" I would say it's my favourite of the season. That didn't actually exist, but yeah, the BBC were like,
Mark's favourite is one that didn't exist.
But yeah, they were just like, even though they'd filmed half of it, they were like, we're not carrying on. We've cancelled it. So there you go. We'll look forward to that, because I think maybe people were wondering if we would be doing it or not. But yes, of course we are. So
Of course we are. Of course we are. Let's not deny Sarah anything.
No, you have to get the full picture of Doctor Who.
I really have.
So yes, join us next week for Sharda. And in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 2watchwho. You can support us at buymeacoffee.com/2watchwho. Thank you for people that have bought us coffees recently. That's very nice.
Yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate all the support.
And you can also listen to us on YouTube as well, if you want. Just more and more people seem to be listening on YouTube. I don't know why. And commenting and stuff. So
cool.
Appreciate your comments.
Bye, YouTube.
Bye. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
2 Watch Who.